Yeah, refusing to stop. Gotcha
Well,
now.
no. When I knew he was after me, I just pulled over.
So was he a nice guy? Did he give you a,
Oh, he was a nice guy. He was smiling. I don't know if you know this Patrolman O'Sullivan is the Bristol cop.
Oh, so they have your number now.
yep, he'll be watching for you.
Okay, I don't want the
you get
mic's
a
on.
warning?
No, what happened was, I was going 57.
In a 55?
No,
50.
40.
Oh, in a 50.
Yeah.
You were going under the.
Which is not that big of a deal, I don't think. But because of tourist season, they want everyone to go 40, even though it was posted prior to him
yeah.
pulling me over. So, I mean, the 50 mile an hour should have been instated at that time. So he gets of course I got legislative plates on. And he says, I started dragging out all this, stuff and registration and said, can I see your license? Oh, yes. So I give him my license and my, state legislator card is behind there, picture ID. So he said, oh, can I see that? I said, yeah. So he said, are you, responding to like an emergency? I said,
You should have said, yeah, I got this woman in the back. She needs to get to the hospital.
this was after I dropped her off.
Okay.
I had a woman in the back. But he was very nice. And theoretically, if I was on a trip to a committee meeting and I was late, I could speed and, they're supposed to let you go.
If you're on that's an emergency?
So I think that's what he was fishing for. He allowed me wiggle room to say, oh, yes, sir. There's an emergency right down the street there. I think it's on Reservoir Road I have to go to really
Proud of
quick.
him. You didn't lie to him.
No, he was very nice.
No, the best thing to do is just like, yeah, I didn't realize, sorry. Something that equivalent.
Ignorance.
That is not a,
No.
Or just no answer at all.
Stand there quietly, holding on, just looking straight forward, ignore the guy.
didn't we replace the battery in the clock?
We need new clock.
We need new
Hebron's
clock.
bad.
Watch out for Hebron.
We
get it
replaced 2
low-tech.
batteries.
Get a low-tech clock.
Recording in progress.
Okay, at least that wasn't
Now we're in it.
online.
Anybody know where Zach is?
No, imagine he's gonna be
Haven't
here.
heard from him.
It's 4:59.
This is
He's got
what
a
I'm gonna
minute.
do. I'm gonna highlight
It's been
everything.
raining outside. He doesn't want to get
It's
outside.
5 o'clock.
Oh, 5 o'clock.
Oh,
Where is the rest of the team?
Marian's, she's missing her opportunity to sit in my spot.
Did Zach go somewhere?
No.
His truck was in the driveway earlier, so.
I know he's been flying a lot.
Wow.
Stop that.
Well, you have to have the microphone close to your mouth so that they can hear me.
Do we want to call it to order?
Do you want to give them a couple more minutes, or do you care?
I don't know, I'm asking.
Yeah, there's no gavel anyway.
Hey, Marianne?
Yeah.
You're late.
She can start the meeting.
Is he not here today?
Ted was having fun.
Want to make you walk.
on time, except I left my glasses.
Oh, someone's wet.
Oh, you did the same thing I did.
I had to go back. Oh, I can't sit there.
I got a highlighter, that's what I got.
You sit there.
I don't have the gavel, so it's all good.
Shall we call the meeting to order?
Sure.
Okay, it is, what time is it?
It's 5:01.
5:01. I'm calling the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mary Ann, could you lead us?
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a minute to approve. The July 10th regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the July 10th regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Announcements. The Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 PM. On Monday, August 14th, 2023, and also on Monday, August 28th at 2023. At 2023? At 5 o'clock on 2023. Citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before noon, the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. And all meetings will be held upstairs in the Town Hall and will be held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found at the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. Okay, I have no comments as acting chair, I guess.
So that brings us.
Actually, oh, never mind. I'll bring up something later on. Do you want to go through the new purchase order? Acceptance of $8,000? Okay, it's not a purchase order, but,
It is, this,
oh, sorry.
Sorry. So the Plymouth Police Department have been awarded a grant through the U.S. Department of Justice Drug Enforcement Administration in the amount of $8,000 for the purpose of marijuana eradication operations. So this will be used for overtime and it also gets used for equipment needs of the department to do with marijuana busts and surveillance and all kinds of things.
Just marijuana
Yeah,
or?
Just marijuana.
And we're talking about growers,
We are.
eradication, he's getting
They
that?
really project that this would be for large-scale illicit marijuana growths. So
Okay.
it's an $8,000 grant that needs to be used by the end of September, I believe. And they already have some funding, some ideas of what they want to do with the funding.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
And this isn't the first time we've received this.
No, we receive this every year.
Okay.
It's the first time that it's been, or second time, sorry, that's been brought to the board over the last 4 years,
Is
so.
there any conflict with state law?
The state's giving us the money.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the $8,000 for the 2023 DCE/SP grant.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Can we go back to the town manager's report?
Sure, thank you, Bill.
Sorry.
So this week, I've got a few things to report on. First being Pease Public Library. Pease Public Library trustees have hired a new librarian, Rebecca Whitney, whose first day will be August 2nd, 2023. Rebecca is looking forward to working with the trustees, town, and staff of Pease Public Library. Rebecca has lived in 4 countries outside of the United States and worked in college, school, city, and town libraries. She's been a teacher and social worker too. Rebecca states, if you haven't come to the library in a while, we hope to see you. If you're a regular, we hope to see more of you. And she will be featured in our newsletter this week that goes out. Isaac. Budget 24-25. I'll be meeting with department heads on Wednesday, July 26th to kick off the budget cycle for 2024-2025. We'll discuss budget vision to include accountability control, justification for what, when, and how, efficiency control, being able to spend the same or less to achieve the same or greater outputs, and economic control, managing expenditures and revenues. I will keep the board up to date on the progress as we move through the budgetary meetings.
Scott, how does that work with the budget committee?
What's that?
The budget committee, how do you folks work with? I know in the past, kind of, the budget committees met with department heads, get a better understanding. Is that still?
That's still the process.
Okay.
So we'll kick it off with the meeting on Wednesday to go through a budget vision, talk about the budgets, talk about expectations, talked about shifting priorities, talk about infrastructure, capital improvement program. And then they'll have a couple months to work on their budgets. Then Ann and I will go through their budgets, meet with them individually. And then the budget committee will have their opportunity after Ann and I have met with them to go through the budgets. The budget committee will then again meet with the department heads to go through, so they become acclimated with what the budget is and what the focus is on this year's intents.
Thanks.
Tax information update, as of close of business last Thursday, July 20th, collection for the July tax bill was at 94%. Linda continues to work on delinquent accounts and requiring delinquent tax written agreements when contact is made. Excuse me. Beautification committee update. I've met with Joyce Weston a couple times, and that committee really is out and about. And I just wanted to provide an update because I think they're kind of the unseen heroes of the downtown area when we look at the different gardens and projects that they're working on. Community effort launch for controlling the horsetail. The beautification committee worked with PBC, all know about horsetail invasion at the roundabout. A pair of signs has been installed on the west side of the roundabout that identifies the weed. The committee is asking committee members to passing by to stop and pull a few weeds, or a lot of weeds. We want people to leave the pile of weeds on the sidewalk bricks and coping stones, and our committee will pick up those and dispose of them properly. The other thing is, Mrs. Moorhead, Janet Moorhead from up on Hawthorne Street, called last week, and she's kind of cutting back on her flowers, so she wanted to know who would be willing to take those or donate those to. So Joyce reached out to Janet, and there's over 150 varieties of daylilies that Janet's going to donate to the beautification committee. So just something that a lot of people don't see that's going on in the committee, but I think deserves recognition.
Scott, I have seen some construction trucks on the roundabout. I'm assuming that's kind of temporary. How much damage?
I don't think there'll be any damage. I can tell you that New Hampshire DOT Dave Jeffries has been in town on a weekly basis, checking and looking at those areas and providing recommendations back to Gunice.
Thanks.
FEMA December 22 storm, we finally made a little bit of progress last week, and Joe and I continue to meet with FEMA representation regarding the 22 storm and damages submitted. We met on July 19th. We were greeted by a new FEMA team that seemed more aggressive in wanting to provide resolution to this storm. In fact, that they really walked us through the last pieces of the puzzle. And Joe and Steve will be meeting with the on-site FEMA representation on July 31st to go through the on-site visit, and then we should hear shortly after that what the final outcome will be. So this new team was more aggressive. We had some different people at the table because it just seemed like a prolonged process up until last week. Plymouth State University, I'll meet with Jess Dutile tomorrow. Cluster project, status quo. I should have a draft LSSA agreement by tomorrow, which I will send out to the board for comment. It really talks about the extending for a 2-year period, sustainability for both the university and the town. They did include the university credits for town employees, up to 24 credits per year. So I think we made some way with that, but once I receive that, I'll send that out for comments so we can get back to them to see if there's any edits that need to be made.
How many classes is 24 credits? Like
Depends
3
on-
credits a class?
They're either 3 or 4,
Okay,
so it depends on what class it is specifically.
gotcha. Okay, thanks.
The last thing I have is the downtown drainage project. I can tell you the things that I've worked on over the past 2 weeks was Main Street road alignment in the area of Panther Pub. That will be realigned and widened a little bit at that point. Restriping of the crosswalks, which they made an attempt on Friday to do that. You can see it was torn up because it started to rain during that. But I think from the town's perspective, in a liability concern, is that after they've finished an area, they should stripe the crosswalk so we have proper crossing on the main street to get across.
Hey, Scott, so regarding Panther Pub, what were they doing? What were they?
At the Panther Pub, the road is being realigned, so
Yeah.
it's, if we're coming north on Main Street, in front of the Panther Pub, that road is shifting to the right a little bit.
Okay.
The sidewalk will still be proper width as required by New Hampshire DOT, but it will align it better and widen it by almost 2 feet. in that area.
Wow, right.
Wow. 2 feet would make a big difference.
It does.
What about the laundromat? Would that include it?
Yep, it includes
laundromat.
Sheridan Berman's building, the laundromat, the apartment, and Panther Pub.
That's really important.
And we've met with them last week because we had to relocate the fire hydrant that's in that area. So the fire hydrant will be more in front of the laundromat now where it was back towards Panther Pub. And that's really the biggest part of the alignment is right in front of Panther Pub. Drainage work on Warren Street is complete. Main Street temporary water lines from Roundabout to Highland Street started today. If you notice, they placed the lines on the west side of Main Street this morning, the east side of Main Street this afternoon. Tomorrow, they'll be in front of the downtown businesses, in front of Chase Street Market, the diner down to Yamas. And then on Thursday, they'll use this upper section and lay the temporary water line. So with that being said, we met with the businesses in that area this afternoon to have a conversation. Plymouth Village Water and Sewer was present, Tom McLaughlin, as well as Kim Haynes, so we could address any of the business concerns in that area. And I think we've met their request to the best of our ability, but they needed to understand that when Greeneast Construction sets up a work zone, they're setting that up in accordance with the manual and uniform traffic control devices, which is enforced by the state as well as the federal DOT. So understanding how that work zone has to fluctuate for alternating one-way traffic, or you have to close down that whole section to get the work through there. That's why parking on both sides of the street will have to be taken during that period of the temporary water line, which should be completed by the end of business on Wednesday in that area. I've reviewed all the daily field reports that started coming in with regards to the new resident engineer. I meet daily with Kevin Hamlin, the resident engineer, as well as Tom Grenice. Change orders for Russell Street and lighting have been put in place. Detention pond inlet redesign, they started working on the detention pond today and laying out the new road that will go through by the skate park. And the Russell Street sewer connection and water line layouts, we should have approval by no later than next week on making sure that is taken care of. Now, with regards to the contract that we spoke about last week that was handed over to H-E-B and Wright Pierce from the town on Russell Street, I've been through the contract. I've worked with John Radigan a little bit on it. But the unfortunate part is when that contract was signed, the engineer and the surveying company clearly stated in the contract that neither the engineer nor the survey warrants or guarantees the conditions shown on the drawings. So we pretty much own that right now. But that's where that sits today. And that concludes my report. Other than we did have a thank you note from Pemmy Youth Center for our contribution. And we had a thank you note from CASA and Caddy for our donations to all three of those organizations.
Thanks, Scott. Take it
Want me to
away,
take back over?
please.
Sorry for my tardiness.
So well.
Well, we have a public hearing to open, so let's do that. Public hearing on the acceptance of $40,000 from Grafton County Commissioners and Executive Committee of the Delegation, purposes for repairing infrastructure of town roadways and sidewalks. Scott, Ann, one of you want to introduce this?
Sure. There was some additional ARPA funding available from the county, and the town of Plymouth put an application in for $50,000 for work to be done, and we did get approved for $40,000. In order for us to expend this money on the sidewalks and streets, et cetera, we need to accept the grant and a motion to expend it as well. At this time, there are, sorry, I didn't bring the application with me. There was specific areas that we had asked for the funding to be used, but it is basically roads and sidewalks.
We just don't have the list of which.
I just don't have the list, I'm sorry.
Does 40,000 go far?
No,
Just
it doesn't, but it helps.
right.
For
Every
sure.
bit helps.
And I don't believe there's any accounting too. So even if you didn't bring the list, or if you don't have a list, it doesn't quite matter, because we're going to expend it on something useful.
The max that we could apply for was the 50, and we did put in for the 50. But
They've reduced every request by 10,000.
And there may be a potential for additional funding as well. Is that right?
Yeah, slightly less than 2 million, maybe like $1.5 million that they still have to.
Left that hasn't
Now
been,
theoretically, it could be done within the county
Okay,
as well,
yep.
but, yeah, they allowed for grants for municipalities, for businesses, and for nonprofits, or 501c3s. And it still didn't clean out their
right?
cash drawer.
And the money did come in already. We got the check as quickly as we got the email. It's just, it was dispersed pretty quick.
That's good.
Yeah.
Especially considering the email says City of Lebanon, even though it's. It's good that we got the check.
I wish we had their money.
That's right. Yeah, but then we'd have their headaches too,
General.
so.
Make a motion to,
We actually need to take public comments first
Oh,
because we're in
sorry.
a public hearing, but I suspect that's going to be
limited.
not a lot. Any public comments on the acceptance of these funds for the purposes of sidewalks and roads? I don't see anybody raising their hand online. Okay, so with that, I will close the public hearing at whatever the heck time it is, 5:19.
519.
Now I'll,
Yeah.
Now you'll accept the motion.
yes.
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the $40,000 from the Grafton County Commissioners and Executive Committee of the delegation and expend it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we also have another grant here.
We already did that one.
Oh, you already did that.
Sorry, I skipped
No,
that
that's okay.
line.
Grace Garvey, is that the next one?
Mhm.
Yes, but I don't know,
I don't
I haven't
see.
seen her. I didn't oh, there's somebody there.
Hello?
Can you say hi?
Oh,
Grace, is Grace Garvey not here?
She's not.
Okay, is this about the block grant?
It is.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, I can speak on this.
that would be great.
We were, okay. So I just wanted to let you know that I spoke to you, I think it was about a month and a half ago, about this opportunity. And we were looking at that time still for a prime applicant, and I was looking for some guidance from the Department of Energy on the requirements of being a prime applicant. So I have some updates. One is that we submitted the concept paper and it was accepted, and we are encouraged to apply. The Department of Energy's deadline for the full application has been extended to August 21st, which was like the best news ever for me. And I found out that Grafton County would be willing to be our prime applicant because it's potentially $2 million of funding, which would need to be dispersed to 5 municipalities. Asking one municipality to be that pass-through agent seemed problematic at best. So I went to the recent Grafton County Commissioners meeting and they voted to serve as prime applicant. So now we have to finish up our full application and submit that. And the only thing we will ask of you all is to sign a letter saying that you agree to be a team member. And if you have any sense of how many hours of donated in-kind time it will take to coordinate with me about, assuming that we get funded, coordinating about invoices, you all choose your contractor to do the solar projects that we've included funding for in the application. we would want you to agree with that contract, and that would take some time. We would communicate with you about the actual construction time. So if you have a sense of how much time that might take, they would like that to be included in this letter of commitment. And if you need help calculating what that time would be, I can certainly do that. But it seems like very good news so far.
I mean, the nice thing about the grant from the research I've done is they really encourage teaming and making sure that there's several communities that are engaging together. And knowing that New Hampshire was one of the priority states chosen for this block grant.
Exactly. I mean, I think 5 is pretty impressive, 5 municipalities, when the whole point of choosing priority states had to do with our small population and the fact that these small population states are really behind the 8 ball on doing renewable energy projects. So the fact that 5 municipalities want to work together is incredible. And when I spoke to Grafton County, they were so enthusiastic about it. They almost couldn't even vote fast enough. And they told us of 2 other towns who want to help out and do these projects too. And if there's space in our grant, can we fit them in? And I just found that to just be really encouraging. And, you know, the Department of Energy said they encouraged us to apply, and they had a few comments. They said we had a very good application, but they would like to see more discussion of job growth, more specific outcomes that can be calculated, like how many emissions are not going to be released, which we didn't include in the application because it was just too quick for us. So that's easy to add in. And the third was about replicability, because they really want to see projects that then will lead to more projects. And that's something that I think will be very easy for us to address. So other than that, they loved our application, which I was so thrilled by. So, you know, we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but I'm really excited to be working on this. And I'm so grateful that you're happy to partner with us.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I have to say that Grafton County themselves are kind of living vicariously through these 5 towns, because they cannot install solar on Grafton County grounds. So
Really?
really, it's because of their electrical provider.
Interesting. So that's
what's-
something that we talked about in the meeting. So that must have been why they were so understanding of us wanting to do net metering in Ashland. But they
Yes.
hadn't mentioned that. Thank you for mentioning that.
It's Woodsville Power and Light that doesn't allow that. But
Yeah.
Quick interjection for the purpose of the meeting minutes. It's Lizetta Silvestri that's been speaking. Just
Yes, and I work for the Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative.
Are you also on the Energy Committee?
No, Grace is on the Energy Committee. So Grace and I spoke this morning about this, and she was thinking that the Energy Committee could even calculate those hours of in-kind time that might be needed and sign that letter of commitment if that's too cumbersome for the whole select board.
what's the mandate of hours? How much hours does the community have to expend in kind?
There's no requirement. The letter
Okay.
just simply asks for you to add, to just sort of say it must be for their own internal record keeping.
I think the Energy Commission has a meeting this week, I believe. So maybe
Yeah,
they should
she-
discuss that further, and
Give
then
us a
we can
number.
communicate back with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any problem signing something if we can get the numbers.
Okay, I'll draft something and tell me what you think of it, and we can edit it and make it into something you're all comfortable signing.
Can't see.
Scott, do you want her to send that to you?
Sure, if you want to send that to me, and then we can discuss it as a group, and I can work with Grace on that as well.
Perfect, that sounds great.
And the Energy Commission does have a meeting on Thursday. So.
Well, that all sounds like good news. Any other questions for Lizetta or discussion around this topic?
No?
All right, well, thank you for
Oh my
being
gosh,
here
thank
and
you.
speaking to it.
Yeah, it's really exciting, especially with the temperatures around the country the way they are right now. To be working on this very
It's
Good
spooky.
feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next up, we have Anne with some encumbrance approval revisions.
So I just wanted to bring back to the board, you had originally on June 19th approved $1,625,626.66 for encumbrances from this year to next year's budget. Due to some changes, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep going on that page. I had estimated the year-end balance to be about 503. We have a few more bills to enter, but the encumbrances actually have changed because people have actually spent the money out of some of those lines so that we don't need to encumber as much. So it's now $1,614,209.16. And we're hoping the estimated year-end balance in the budget will be around $669,000 that will go back into unreserved fund balance from the budget itself. Department heads, Scott, everybody's done a really good job of paying attention to their budgets, working together, doing a lot of things that we not necessarily have done in the past. So we're pretty excited about that. So I need if you wouldn't mind doing, having a motion to approve that new amount of the revised encumbrances, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the new amount of $1,614,209.16 for the revised number for the encumbrances.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I think you have the original there to be signed, Zach, in one of your,
I probably do. I'll have to steal a pen from Ted. And that lost my agenda. That brings us to signature file review.
just a couple of items. We have a delegation of deposit authority that has been approved by the town treasurer for Amy Lee, who is the assistant to the town clerk. She has gone through the state, passed all the courses there. Her training has been completed. This allows her now to go to the bank and also do the transfers for the state as we need to do on a daily basis. Just need signatures on that, please. Next item I have is a yield tax assessment in the amount of $336.16. It's for a timber cut, and there are several places on that to sign, Ted.
Okay.
And that's all I had for signatures.
Excelente.
Okay. Any discussion about any of those items? Seeing none. On to committee reports. Plymouth Village Water and Sewer.
What the hell?
What? What's wrong with that?
Taking up 2 spaces.
Expanding my horizons. Let's see, July 12th meeting minutes. Lots of discussion about the Russell Street issue going on. Scott's already addressed that.
There's nothing else.
Let's
It's
see.
those 2 places.
Talked about the transmission line for the well water from Holderness back to Plymouth for treatment, and then back to Holden. Is that the, what's it? That the design is 100% complete. Blah, blah, blah. They've been working on cleaning up AR quite a bit, which is going very well. What's the PO? And kicking off with Wright Pierce about pump station reviews. Kind of coming up with a master plan for that, and they'll start picking off the low-hanging fruit as they move along. And that's it. Oh, they're working with PSU. Apparently, there's a hole in one of PSU's lines. They're working on replacing that with PSU. And that is
Their
it.
sewer line?
Yes.
Any questions for Mary Ann? Planning Board.
We had a meeting on July 20th. It was announced that the Energy Commission was going to have a meeting next week on Thursday at 6 p.m. John Christ is the chair. Our first public hearing regarded Frontenac Development accepting the road, and Kevin French, the surveyor, and Jeff Hiltz, the owner, were present, and they presented as-built amended plans, which were approved by the board. And there are issues for the select board to review, so the package is going to be coming to the select board for final approval. A company named BYCO, B-Y-C-O, it's the Blackie brothers are proposing Page Street storage facility. Originally, Page Street was laid out as a residential neighborhood. The connector street in the rear was never built, but there are 10 homes on Page Street. And there's a lot of concern about impact from a commercial enterprise at the end of the street.
Where's
And
Page Street? Yeah, sorry.
Page Street is off Fairground Road. It's right across from the Unitarian Church.
Ah, okay, thank you.
And there's also a pond, which actually was a sand pit that is, somehow water has been diverted into that pond, and there are flooding issues there, and there have been for years. So they are engaging an engineering company to design a proper stormwater management system for the site. And they have come to agreements with homeowners regarding types of fences. And in one case, they're applying for a ZBA exception to have a higher fence because the residents want it. And so if they can't get it, they're gonna have to go with a 6-foot fence. The proposal is ongoing for the next meeting. We're going to have a site walk for the planning board on August 3rd at 5:30 p.m., which is just before our regular meeting. And it has to be noticed. But the plan is coming together. Then our third hearing was with the owners of the last chair. They have an expansion plan at the traffic circle on Route 25 and 3A. And the application was approved with conditions pending the New Hampshire DES approval and the town engineer's approval. There's some discussion about what type of septic system they're going to have for the brewery, because it has distinct issues, I guess. Then we met with Trevor Presby of, I believe his brother Thad is his partner They call it TNT Mountain Investments. And they own the Roby Farm on the corner of Smith Bridge Road, which is 40-some-odd acres. The house is, and part of one of the barns is still there. Two of the barns are still there. They applied for a simple subdivision to cut off about a 3+ acre parcel that is fronting on Route 25 and adjacent to the stream. I think they call it Clay Brook, that comes down in between the co-op tracks and crosses under the highway. And that was approved. And then we...
Is that only turning it into two pieces?
Two pieces,
Yeah.
40.5 acres and just over a 3-acre parcel.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think they may be thinking about cutting off another piece in the future, but we reminded them that they have got to take into consideration that we have a 500-foot environmental impact buffer zone along the river. And I don't know whether they were really aware of that. But it would be the same situation that what Riverside Landing had to deal with. So the last hearing involved Riverside Landing 2, and we gave them approval. They have everything in line for approval, except they need a reclamation bond, and the town engineer needs to approve of the work plan. So they've been approved to go ahead with site work on that tract of land where they did the logging across from Burger King. So that has nothing to do with building structures, but they can do the site work. So as long as they have their reclamation bond and their approval from the town engineer for the work plan, they'll be all set.
So
And Amy Lee was in assistance with Joseph Perez. So we had two people in the planning department.
regarding that reclamation bond, there was no reclamation bond on the first development, or maybe even the second development that was on Riverside. So this is something new, or?
Well, it's on the list.
I have no
That's
problem
all
with it,
know.
but this just seemed like they've been approved without reclamation bonds in the past.
Um,
But
That,
there should be
that
one in
land
place.
was, it was degraded by taking soil to build the Tenny Mountain Highway, to get it up above the 100-year floodplain. And I remember when that field it was a farm field
Yeah,
for Hatch Dairy Farm.
really?
Yeah. And they scooped it right out to raise up the highway. They also took land from Carpenter's Pit up on Cookville Road. They had a road that came right down through the earth movers to build up Tenny Mountain Highway.
Any questions for Neil about planning board?
Zach, if I can just talk a little bit about Frontenac
Yeah,
with Jeff
please.
Hiltz. I did speak with Jeff the day following, on the Friday the 21st. He will be coming in front of the board on August 14th. I do have a few concerns before I would make any recommendation for the town to accept the road. Those are, the plan that he submitted is a completion plan, not a full as-built plan. So I would want to see a final as-built plan that recognizes Plymouth Village water and sewers concerns with the roadway, with the sewer system that's under there. I'd also want KV Partners, the town engineer consultant, to review the as-built plan once received. I think before anything is done, Jeff Hiltz needs to register this plan with the Grafton County Registry of Deeds. And once that's completed, then we would ask John Radigan to complete a title search to make sure everything is in order before taking acceptance of that road. But Jeff will be in here on August 14th to maybe show this plan or to show a final as-built plan.
And that, we have the authority to vote to accept that? It doesn't have to
That
go
is
to
correct.
town meeting? Anything else planning board related? Campus Community Council?
I've been in contact with Just Two Tile. She's having a conversation with President Burks tomorrow. I don't know the time, to discuss whether we're going to have the pre-semester conversation like we did last year that Marlon put together. My feeling at this point is possibly not. So our next full meeting may not be until the fall.
They just don't have enough time to pull it off.
There's lots of logistics. I think Jess was on vacation.
Okay. Capital improvement, nothing until October. LRP, oh wait, I skipped over Plymouth School. Went all the
Nothing's
way.
happening there
Yeah.
yet.
There you go, nothing at the school. Conservation Commission, though, that one probably has updates.
Yes, I do have updates on that one. So they met last Tuesday, at the standard 7 o'clock. There was a discussion about their financial report. They had some confusion on what the report meant. So they were going to talk to Ann. I'm assuming they did. Did that get clarified?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe. We'll see.
I couldn't really help because I didn't know. Basically, they're looking to get more of their information on Facebook. They've been kind of waiting for someone to be back and present to get that going. Also, a discussion on how their website is maintained. They talk about a planning board meeting that has already occurred. Their trails report, they finished construction on a new trail sign. I forget exactly where that was. But they did also reported that a tree was down on, I think, the Walter Trail that somebody went out and took care of probably almost immediately after. There was talk about an education panel discussion in Hanover at the library that you could zoom into. I think that too has already occurred. They passed around a flyer that I could take a picture of. They only had one. Let's see, they talked about conservation actions, specifically the L-CHIP grant request for view land. Something happening this Wednesday at 9 a.m. So they're looking to look at probably that lot that we discussed last time. The NRI, Ina Ahern did a very nice presentation using the ArcGIS online platform to show various water, natural resources, etc., within the town of Plymouth. She's put something very nice together that is intended to dovetail into doing the NRI. They want to see how much of the content Ina can do and have the focus of the request to have someone help them with the NRI to be more about updating the language, the narrative that goes along with the pictures, and Ina has agreed to do her best to develop any charts, figures, whatever they need to do that work. Joan has a lead on somebody who would possibly be interested in doing that work. Normally, I guess, whoever writes it wants to do the graphics as well as the narrative, but this is an opportunity for us to possibly save some money and make use of Ina's contribution and that of the high school students that she's been working with. So they're talking about that possible contractor coming to the next meeting, which will be in 3 weeks, roughly. And true to form, the meeting concluded at 9 o'clock or 9:01.
Any questions for Ted?
Sure. Has there been any discussion on composting?
No. Not that, since I've been there.
Okay. I spoke to one of the reps from Lebanon, and Lebanon has a very comprehensive composting thing for their landfill, to include incorporation of an app that any, resident could access to find out where they should put what they have. So it's just something I think to bring to their attention. Maybe
Yeah,
the
I'll
next-
make a note to,
Do you want, I'll give you some stuff, okay?
yeah, that would be fantastic.
Better Bin recycling app that they use.
And we're giving it paper. Okay, yeah, I can pass that along.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ted about conservation? LRPC, Bill?
Nothing.
Okay, Parks and Rec, back to you, Ted.
They are having a meeting today, 5 o'clock. So,
All
sorry, I had to miss it.
All that build up to non-attendance.
Yeah.
On to Parking Committee.
Nothing, I did want to ask Scott about Silver Center, and when do we lose that for the free parking?
August 15th.
Okay. And then after that, we're just,
Right.
It is what it is.
gotcha.
It gets complicated.
It does. It does. What are you gonna do?
Anything else parking related? Energy Commission.
We have a meeting on Thursday.
Sounds good. Advisory Budget Committee, not until October. Economic Development Committee.
Not until the start of school.
Okay. PSU negotiation, that's all done-ish. Did we get the updated agreement to sign?
I should have that tomorrow.
Okay.
Then I will send it out to the board to receive comment back.
Okay, perfect. Chamber of Commerce.
So I was closing on my house that day for the last meeting, but I did, quite Chamber of Commerce. PSU reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, who then reached out to Explore Plymouth NH, kind of why I got involved. What's her name? Lauren Wentworth, from PSU. What they want to do is PSU wants to partner with Main Street businesses for the homecoming at the end of September, and see if they can do some partnering. They want to do some marketing for the town, driving some of the alumni into Main Street, which is great. I think it's a great proposal to do that. So working on a logo, which has just been approved. We've emailed out all the businesses. Do you want to do something special that Sunday, whether it be 15% off or some Panther related items, things like that. PSU is sort of picking up the tab for it. There's not a whole lot to do, signage and things like that. But I think it's a good idea. They reached out.
Nice. Perlac.
We have vital, not vital buckets. We have VRAP, with Volunteer River Assessment Program, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. I'm sure we'll see Neil there. Never mind. And it's kind of like problematic because we're no longer sharing our equipment with the southern people. We have our own outfit, but we still have to work through kind of a handoff of vials to do water sampling tomorrow and get everything down to DES by noontime tomorrow afternoon. So we'll manage, obviously, but I'm still looking for a volunteer to get it down to Concord, actually. But we have a meeting on Tuesday as well at 6:30, and we quit at 8:30.
Police and Fire Building Assessment Committee, we met Friday
Want me to
afternoon?
give an update?
Yeah, sure.
So, as I think everyone knows, we contracted with the H.L. Turner Group Incorporated, which is an architect, engineering, and building science firm out of Concord. The assessments for the buildings were completed in April. Those assessments included facility audit, overview and limitations, site evaluation, exterior systems evaluation, interior systems evaluation, mechanical and plumbing evaluation, as well as an electrical system evaluation. As part of those evaluations, cost matrix have been developed for the exterior, interior, mechanical, and electrical. Draft reports were received on Friday, July 20th. The committee met on Thursday afternoon at Plymouth Fire Station, which we were still lacking one of the reports that had just been received. So the committee really hadn't had time to look through both of the reports and look at an executive summary for both the police and fire reports, which we're waiting for a full executive summary that elaborates on both the police facility and the fire facility. Also, as part of them coming to the Board of Selectmen on August 14th, they are creating a PowerPoint presentation that will be delivered to the committee prior to coming to the board to make sure it meets the expectations of the committee and communicates the information that we're hoping to find in those reports. And the full presentation will be the Select Board on Monday, August 14th.
Good. Did you say you met with them?
We met with, the committee met
No, we
on
met with the
Thursday.
committee. Have you met with the firm on a follow-up
No,
yet?
I communicated to them on last Friday morning, July 20th. I am waiting for a response back with regards to the concerns that we talked about at our meeting.
Good.
Scott, are we going to run through that slide deck at the meeting?
Yes,
So we're going to present, so that
Correct.
people online can see it?
correct. Yes.
That's the intention, yes. Any questions about that?
Well, just a quick one. So I guess looking through the report regarding the current buildings and fire, there was something like amount like 45,000 or something like that to correct any code issues and stuff. I mean, I would imagine that we'll probably go ahead and do that regardless. I don't know if it's in their budget or not, but, I guess we'll cover it in August, whatever, but.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about code issues, but they don't talk about the specific code issues that are in violation or a problem. So part of my correspondence back to them was to articulate what those code issues are so we can have a full understanding if they're electrical, are they mechanical, are they interior, are they exterior, of what we're not meeting with regards to code. So hopefully we'll see what the specifics are of those code violations in the upcoming executive summary.
Right, okay.
All right. Anything else for committees? No? We're good? Any public comments?
Listening to the town manager's comments about realignment of the sidewalks in certain parts of our Main Street, I am very curious about the 5 South Main Street, which is the last building on the right as you come into the town. That sidewalk alignment was based on the old profile of Route 3 coming into town. And if you go out and look at it, you see that it's very much out of place. And I know, obviously, part of the work of putting in the retention pond and then the embankment of the Route 3 going down to the skateboard park is going to be redone. I think that'd be a very good time to get the sidewalk and the profile of that roadway more in line with, it's a choke point. It's out like 4 or 5 feet out of alignment, existing. I haven't seen the plans of construction, but as a citizen, I would hope that the opportunity we would have now in redoing that area would straighten that part up. And the other part is the old Plymouth Inn site, which is owned by the town, and McLean's Tree Farm area, that those two pieces of property have got a 6-foot deflection out into the width of Route 3. And if there's going to be a drainage culvert for the new drainage system, again, this would be a very opportune time to get that alignment so the road width maintains the same width down the whole length of Main Street. Again, I haven't seen the actual designs.
Where was that last piece, Frank, that you talked about with the 2 pieces of property?
The Plymouth Inn site and McLean's Tree Farm, right south of the dry cleaners building.
Okay.
Yes. And I had, back in 2019, I had gotten with the town planner and McLean, and we went out and talked about it. And he was interested in doing a lot line adjustment with the town to allow that to occur so long he didn't incur a cost. So the opportunity is there. And of course, we own Plymouth, the town owns Plymouth Inn site. And I think this would be a most opportune time to get that safety part, because it is a choke. Everybody has to slow down, and the width of the road is not as it should be.
I will check on the width of the road and the realignment there, but I can tell you that the drainage that comes down through Webster Place
Yes.
up above, that is being addressed, so it all connects into the main drainage system. onto
Right,
Main
because
Street.
that is Webster Terrace. That rainwater just runs down and puts the dirt out onto Main Street every spring. And obviously, that would be a very good place for a catch basin, but,
That is addressed in the plan.
okay. And so, thank you.
Thanks, Frank. I have one small non-public item.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go into non-public, with accordance to RSA 91-A:3, 2.
A.
Second.
Any discussion? I don't know if there is discussion. Ted, your vote.
Aye.
Zach, your vote. Aye. Mary Ann? Aye. Bill?
Aye.
Neil?
Neil?
Aye.